Let's go to Jack Murphy Stadium. Dave Van Horn and Ken Singleton.
At the Murph, the San Diego Padres are just taking to the field. And we're just about set for the start of tonight's ball game. A beautiful night for baseball out here. A much clearer sky than what we had last night. There is Shane Andrews, who will be playing at first base tonight with Henry Rodriguez out of action. Rodriguez traded for by the Expos to become the first baseman. Ken had a chance to sit and talk with him.
I'm here with Henry Rodriguez, and Henry, I know it's got to be disappointing that you've become injured with the Expos. Maybe you can explain what happened and how long you think you'll be out.
I'm really disappointed because I just got here and boom, disabled list already. I hit a foul ball about 15 days ago in LA, and I was kind of limping a little bit. And last day we played in Montreal. I hit a base hit right field, and then something popped inside my leg, and we went to the doctor yesterday, and they find out a hairline fracture in my leg, about 4 inches below my knee. So I'll be out for a couple of weeks, maybe 3, and then be back strong.
So Henry Rodriguez is out and Shane Andrews is in. The 23-year-old will be seeing a lot of action at first base. He played there last night. He'll be there again in tonight's ball game. In the Thursday game, when Rodriguez had to come out of the game against the Cardinals, Andrews had started at third base and then moved over to first base when Rodriguez came out of the game. Here's Joey Hamilton, the starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres. And here's the lineup he'll face tonight. Lou Frazier, Jeff Treadway, and Will Cordero at the top of the order. This is the same lineup that beat San Diego last night. Moises Alou, Darren Fletcher, and Tony Tarasco in the middle third. Then Mark Gressolanic, Shane Andrews, and Pedro Martinez for the Expos tonight. So Hamilton ready to go. 24-year-old, 6'4", 220, throws hard.
Looking for his first win of the year. His 0-2, had an excellent outing against the Expos in the most recent series at the Big O, but came away with a no decision. It was a ball game that at one time he had retired 17 straight. Some people, speaking of the Big O, those people must be here from the Big O.
The Expos have some fans out here in Southern California. Lou Frazier, the batter. Frazier, a switch hitter, steps in, left-handed batter against the right-hander. Frazier hitting just 156. And with that pitch, we're underway at the Murph. Ball one, no strikes. Frazier was on base with a walk and a single in last night's game. A strike called, and 1-1. Joey Hamilton, a #1 draft by the Padres in 1991. Frazier showing bunt, and he takes a strike, and it's 1-2.
Well, Frazier has a way of waiting out pitchers and make sure they throw strikes, but Joey Hamilton has been one that's been getting the ball over. He's only walked one man in his last 20 innings, so he is throwing strikes, and plenty of them.
Here's the 1-2 pitch, fastball up and in, and 2 balls and 2 strikes. Frazier is playing in center field for the injured Rondell White. Ball is fouled out of play. Rondell White is out of action with a left hamstring injury. It kind of makes you wonder what's going on in Major League Baseball right now, but there have been a rash of injuries, not just by the Expos. Today the Giants got bad news. Matt Williams fouled a ball off his leg. He then singled, and while running the bases came up lame, had to come out of the game. He suffered a broken second metacarpal bone in his right foot. He'll be placed in a cast. Here's a ground ball for Pedagini. He bobbles and gets it to the pitcher late, and Frazier beats it out on the error by the first baseman.
And Lou seems to have hurt his right hand or right wrist. And I don't know if it's swinging or trying to beat this out. Hamilton might not have beaten Frazier to the bag. First of all, Pedagini blows the grounder and then throws the first, not in time. This delay right here ensured that Frazier would be safe at first base. But Hamilton had a late break off the mound. He would have had trouble beating Frazier down the line.
Pedagini is charged with an error. Frazier becomes a base runner. and now he'll be watched. He's obviously been asked by Luis Pujols, the first base coach, if he's okay, and Frazier stays in the game. Here's Jeff Treadway playing at second base. Mike Lansing is on the disabled list. A strike to Treadway. So to finish the thought on Matt Williams, in case you hadn't heard the news, the Gold Glove third baseman out of action, minimum 6 weeks. Lost to the Giants with a broken right foot. Here's a high fly ball to left, and Bip Roberts, the left fielder, has this. Waiting halfway, Frazier returns to first base.
Hitting third,
Joey Hamilton, a 4.17 earned run average and a 0-2 record. Makes his 8th start.
Only 5 walks in 41 innings. I think his problem, though, from time to time, you saw the number of hits at 49 hits in 41 innings. He gets the ball over, but he gets it right down the middle too often.
Pitch is low and outside to Will Cordero, and then a throw to first base, but Frazier had gotten back safely. Cordero batting .284, leading the club in hits with 40.
Lou thought about going to second, then retraces his steps back to first base, and Osmus almost threw the ball into right field.
Here's the 1-strike pitch, and Cordero drives this ball to right field. Gwynn is back just short of the warning track and makes the catch. 2 down. That'll bring Moises Alou to the plate. Checking out the rest of the Padre defense, we mentioned Roberts in left and Gwynn in right. Steve Finley's playing in center field. Pettigini at first base. Jody Reed over at second. Ray Holbert, the rookie, getting a start at shortstop. Ken Caminetti at third base. Brad Osmus behind the plate. Hamilton ready to face Alou. No score in the first with Frazier aboard. The Expos running game has been slowed considerably. The team has just 23 stolen bases. They've been caught 18 times. They've given up 35 stolen bases. And usually it's a big edge favor the Expos in the running game. The pitch to Alou smacked hard through the hole on the left side, and a base hit. Moises Alou wasting no time.
the catcher, number 24, Darren.
Well, you can tell he's feeling better with the bat. He's becoming more aggressive. Last night he hit a home run here on a first pitch at bat. His first time up, and tonight first pitch and a base hit to left.
And a 10-game hitting streak for Mo.
Darren Fletcher, the left-hand hitting catcher, will bat, hitting .259 on the season. Low and in, a ball. So some big name players are out of action. Matt Williams with the Giants. Dave Justice goes on the DL at Atlanta. Jose Rijo at Cincinnati, along with Deion Sanders.
Just a couple of more today that we just found out about. Some big timers.
Aaron Seeley with a tender shoulder goes on the DL. Dean Palmer, the Texas third baseman, ruptured a bicep tendon in his left elbow. He's out for the year. He did that striking out. Ball three, no strikes to Darren Fletcher. And the Expos have lost two first basemen. That's Tony Tarasco on deck. Cliff Floyd, which prompted the trade with the Dodgers to acquire Henry Rodriguez. Bases are full with two down for Tony Tarasco.
On last night's game, Fletcher got a key walk to load the bases for Tarasco, and he came through with a sacrifice fly in the ninth inning to put the Expos in the lead. Well, they don't need a fly ball here. They need a base hit.
2 outs in the inning, and Tarasco stands in. He's batting .291. Ball one to Tarasco from Joey Hamilton.
Hamilton has some good late movement on his fastball. By that I mean it kind of tails just as it gets to the plate. The hitter starts his swing and all of a sudden the ball is moving away from him if you're a left-handed hitter.
Osmus went out to visit briefly with the starter Hamilton. Tony Tarasco 6 for 17 with runners in scoring position. That's a .353 batting average. He takes a strike here. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Talking to pitching coach Sonny Siebert of the Padres, he's mentioned his young pitchers have a tendency to get in trouble in the early innings and then they settle down. There's a good changeup in for a strike. But they use up a lot of pitches in the early innings and the tank is empty by the 5th or 6th. Can't go any further.
Well, after the off-speed pitch, let's see if he tries to blow one by Tony Tarasco. And the ball is tapped to the right side. Reed has this, throws to first. He would not throw Tarasco a fastball. The Expos lead 3 in the first, and the Padres are coming to bat.
MLB at Home is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
For your special bag.
Pedro Martinez on the mound, warming up, ready to go after the San Diego Padres. Let's check out their starting lineup. Bip Roberts is the leadoff hitter, then Steve Finley and Tony Gwynn. Ken Caminetti bats in the cleanup spot. Roberto Pettigini is hitting in the number 5 position and playing at first base tonight. Brad Osmus, then Jody Reed, then the rookie playing at shortstop with Cedeno coming out of the lineup. Ray Holbert batting 8th. And then Joey Hamilton, the pitcher, hitting 9th. And here's a look at Pedro Martinez.
Pedro 3-0, 3-1 this year, but 3-0 lifetime against the San Diego Padres. Had a no decision in the start on the 24th. He and Hamilton matched up. Pedro went 6 1/3 innings, had 7 strikeouts, but allowed 9 hits and 4 walks in that game. So no decision for Pedro. He hasn't won since May the 13th at Shea Stadium. So he's been struggling of late.
And 1 win in his last 5 starts. He made a start last Monday against the Giants. And 3 pitches into the game with Darren Lewis at the plate, Pedro was warned by the plate umpire, Bruce Fleming. That was last Monday at Olympic Stadium. Pedro has really battled his control. He threw a pitch down and in. He threw a pitch up and in. Then he threw a pitch in the dirt. And then he was warned. There were no further incidences. And Bruce came to realize that Martinez was struggling all evening with his control. Bip Roberts, a switch hitter, batting .354, leading the Padres in hitting. Foul ball. Total of 45 hits.
Dave, it was interesting you mentioned that Bruce Fleming realized no further incidents in the game, although Pedro did throw a pitch behind John Patterson of the Giants. And I think Bruce realized that Pedro is just having all kinds of problems with his control, and maybe the warning itself was a bit premature.
Right. Pedro, just 23, comes in with a 1-2 to Roberts. Low and inside. Roberts was originally signed by Pittsburgh. He was drafted by the Padres as a Rule 5 draft. And there are his numbers against the Expos. They're just tremendous. A high fly ball for Frazier in center field. 1 away.
You notice the 2 home runs that Bip hit against the Expos. One of those was a grand slam here in the 9th inning with 2 outs. Bip went the count, put the count to 3-2 against Barry Jones, fouled off about 5 pitches, then hit a grand slam home run to win the game. And his reputation grew from there.
A called strike on Steve Finley. Finley is hitting .286. First inning and no score at the Murph. Breaking ball missed inside. Pedro Martinez up through the Dodger system. Started out with Los Angeles, of course, in their bullpen and put up terrific numbers. Ball is bounced foul off to the right side, and a ball and 2 strikes. Coming out of the Dodger farm system, where he was a minor league player of the year in 1991. Joined the Dodgers in September of '92. Fastball by Finley and a strikeout for Pedro Martinez. His first of the night. 2 down, and Tony Gwynn will be the batter.
Right fielder.
Pedro shook off before he threw this fastball, so Darren Fletcher wanted something else, but Pedro knew what was best as he blows Finley away.
Tony Gwynn hitting .316, and he takes a strike. A 5-time batting champion. Struggling a little bit with the bat right now. Gwynn's hitting just .143 against the Expos. He's just 2 for 14 against the Montreal pitching staff. Low and inside, a ball. Over the years, the Expos have had success pitching to Tony Gwynn. They've held his career batting average under 300.
I thought you would qualify that because he is a 290 something lifetime hitter against the Expos, but I believe that's the only team that he's under 300 against.
That's it. 2 balls and a strike to Gwynn. Here's a fly ball for the left fielder Moises Alou. 3 up, 3 down, nothing for San Diego in the first. At Jack Murphy Stadium, Expos and the Padres are scoreless.
Thanks for sharing your DIY haircuts, your savage moves, and your adorable pets. Now it's our turn to share with the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies lasting your full policy term. So, thanks again.
Gates F and G.
It'll be Joey Hamilton against the bottom third of the Expos order here in the second. Gresselanek, Andrews, and Martinez. And here's a report on Hamilton.
Last 3 starts, you can see he's thrown pretty well. Hasn't had the success in the win column. 0-1, 19 innings, 2.33 ERA, only 5 walks in 41 in the 3rd innings. Joey Hamilton's getting the ball over the plate. And he started against the Expos up at the Big O, went 7 2/3, 6 hits, no earned runs. The Expos had a rally late in that ball game, and it was started by an error. And the Expos eventually won that game 3-2.
Joey Hamilton will face Mark Gresselanek.
Leading off for Montreal.
Mark's batting .266 with a home run and 8 RBIs.
Mark Gresselanek.
And with Andrews being played at first base and Sean Berry injured, Gresselanek right now is playing at third base. So Felipe Alou continues to plug a lot of holes, all touched off by the injuries to the right side of the infield. Cliff Floyd with a fractured wrist, Henry Rodriguez with a fractured leg, Mike Lansing out with a badly pulled hamstring on the DL.
Well, youngsters like Gresselanek and Shane Andrews, who's on deck, are going to be force-fed for a while here. There are certain nights, I'm sure, where Felipe would have liked to have kept these youngsters on the bench against certain pitchers.
1 away here in the second.
Or if they're struggling with the bat, be able to take them out of lineup for a couple of days and maybe use them in pinch hit situations and work them back in. But now he has to put them in there on a day in and day out basis.
Shane Andrews hitting .239, 4 home runs, 12 runs batted in, ball 1. Outfield playing him straight away in center. The left and right fielders shade a bit toward the alleys, and the 1-0 is outside. 2 balls and no strikes to Andrews. .6'4" right-hander fires, again missing outside, and ball 3. Ken, Major League Baseball's had an uphill battle from the start of this season because of the circumstances that prevail in this game right now. No labor agreement, and coming off the horrible events of last fall. Pitch is low and ball 4, a walk to Andrews, and they've been looking to the young players and the superstars and the big hitters to bring the fans back to Major League Baseball. Baseball taking a big hit with the loss of people like Ken Griffey and Matt Williams.
That's certainly true, and I thought it was going to be a gradual process anyway to getting people back into the ballparks, and it's certainly here in San Diego that has been the case. They're only averaging 12,000 per game. Now, I know we had 28,000 plus here last night, but that was kind of artificially induced by the fact that fireworks was after the game. Maybe not after the game. The Expos had their own fireworks in the 9th inning with that 6-run outburst to win the game.
Pedro up here to try to bunt Andrews over. Pedro Martinez is hitting .071. He's had 1 hit in 14 at-bats. Has not been able to get a sacrifice bunt down so far this season. Oh, and 2 the count. Look at this now. Here's Mission Impossible. Look at this.
This is some sort of teamwork.
There we go.
Right.
Okay. There's the bunt. Picked up by Caminetti. Thrown to first for the out, and Pedro gets his first sacrifice down. 5-4, and Andrews is at second base for Lou Frazier.
Well, Pedro does get it down. Caminetti does not hesitate. All-star third baseman last year, knows immediately to go to first base. Breaking ball, good bunt by Pedro, sprints down the line. Caminetti, not even a look towards second. And that comes from experience, knowing where the ball is and how hard it's been bunted.
Lou Frazier reached on an error by the first baseman Pettigini and was eventually stranded at third base when the first came to an end and the Expos left 3. Andrews at second here. 0-1 the count on Frazier. A ball hit foul down the left field line. Of course, up in San Francisco now with the loss of Matt Williams. More pressure for Bonds. More pressure for Glenn Allen Hill.
Well, the Giants were in first place starting the afternoon, and they won today. So they're still in first place. But with the loss of Williams, you begin to think, how long can they stay there? The Rockies are right on top of them, and the Dodgers and these Padres are not that far behind.
1 ball and 2 strikes. The count on Lou Frazier, who has stepped out. The Atlanta Braves also lost today. So the team ahead of the Expos and the team behind the Expos losing. The Expos tonight could move to within 3 games of Philadelphia and 2 games ahead of Atlanta. They're a game and a half ahead of the Braves right now. A ball and 2 strikes to Lou Frazier. And Hamilton started off the mound. Kerwin Danley is the plate umpire, and I think he heard something from the Padre dugout.
Well, after this pitch, Hamilton must have wondered if Lou Frazier and Kerwin Danley are not related somehow, but might have been a ball.
2-2 pitch. Bounced past the pitcher, picked up by Reed, thrown off balance in time at first base. That's a terrific play by the veteran second baseman Jody Reed, and the Expos leave Andrews. Midway in the second, Montreal nothing, San Diego nothing. Expos baseball on TSN.
An update from baseball tonight, tied 6-6. The White Sox, Detroit, until Dave Martinez with a 2-out grand slam home run off Joe Baber. First of the season. That's 33 grand slams in the majors this year.
Right here, no score as the Padres come to bat in the second. Take a look at the scouting report on Pedro Martinez.
Well, you can see how Pedro has struggled in his last 3 starts. Just look at the earned run average, 4.58. That is certainly not the way that Pedro usually pitches. 0-1 is his last 3 starts, and just been struggling to find a release point. I think tonight you check out the number of base on balls, number of wild type pitches within the zone, how often he gets the ball over the plate, and do you see that fastball sailing in on the right-handed hitter?
1 strike on the switch hitter, Ken Caminetti. He'll bat left-handed against Pedro Martinez. Caminetti hitting .305 and leading the San Diego club in total bases, 64, doubles with 10, tied for the home run lead with 5, and leading in RBIs with 24. Ball 1. Well, that does not look too good, does it, for anybody? The 0 for 13. 2 balls and a strike to Caminetti.
Well, last night, remember, I kind of wondered on the air if Caminetti had been a pitcher anywhere. So I asked him today, and he said at one time he did use that strong arm as a pitcher in high school. He was a shortstop and a pitcher. Right here, he swings and misses on a fastball out of the zone.
Let's see what he chased here.
Couldn't get up high enough on that fastball, and it almost lost his balance.
Hard swing, though. He scattered birds with that. 2-2 the count. He got a hold of this, but he's pulled it way down the right field line and back out of play.
Well, somebody found it worthwhile to come out here tonight. Nice little scramble for that ball.
In on his hands again, and a ball pulled foul.
So far, Pedro seems to be locked in pretty well. But when you're struggling as a pitcher, sometimes you fall in and out of your patterns and release point, and you can't throw strikes. There's a breaking ball and miss down and in. And if you're going to throw a ball, you want to make it look more like a strike.
Three and 2 pitch coming up to Caminetti.
Oof.
Good fastball there. That's the second strikeout for Pedro Martinez.
Well, that's the second time he's challenged the left-handed hitter. This time it's Caminetti's turn, and he can't catch up to it. It's Pedro's #1 heater right there.
Pedagini up for the first time. Batting .355 will break that down. Here's a foul ball out of play. 127 at bats. Good catch.
This might be the catch of the year. What a play.
Here is the 1-1 pitch, and lifted high into the air. Lude coming in.
Did we have that
2
catch?
down.
We have that fan making that catch.
Brad Osmus will be the batter, hitting .316. Right-hand hitting catcher. Strikeouts, of course, nothing new for Pedro. He established himself as a strikeout pitcher working out of the Dodger bullpen in 1993. In 107 innings, he had 113 strikeouts. Tied John Wetland for the league high. 2 balls and no strikes to Osmus. Let's check the speed gun. That's a pretty good fastball.
That's yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
You don't have time to look at that pitch, do you? Ground ball left side. Cordero. And just in time to get Osmus on a close play at first base. 3 up, 3 down. Pedro has retired 6 in a row to start the game. We're scoreless at the end of 2.
MLB Priceless Moments, presented by MasterCard.
Gives the ball to the kid.
How awesome is that?
Jimenez in the air.
And there's one happy fan.
That's why we love this great game and the great players in it.
The moment. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Big hug. A big Josh Bell fan.
Wish you a long and happy life together.
Mike Trout, as usual, signing autographs with some young fans, and the reaction, priceless.
No score. The Expos and the Padres, middle game of the 3-game series. Here's that play at first base, Ken. I'm not sure what happened here.
Well, Cordero, you see him double pump, and Osmus runs pretty well for a catcher. And Shane Andrews at the last pitch, kind of bit here, kind of stretched out to take the throw. I think he realized how close it was going to be.
So the Expos got that out. Now they'll bat here in the 3rd with Treadway, Cordero, and Alou coming up against Joey Hamilton. With Henry Rodriguez being placed on the disabled list, the Expos are going to call up Curtis Pride from the International League. In a little while, we'll have General Manager Kevin Malone here to talk about that. Pride will be here for tomorrow's game. He is en route to San Diego right now. Veteran Jeff Treadway. Jeff with a check swing, did not go around. Treadway playing in his 6th Expos game and getting his 2nd straight start at second base. Swung and missed the change. And a ball and a strike to Treadway, who flied to left his first time up. Then with the Reds and the Braves, the Dodgers. Low for a ball, 2-1. Last year led National League pinch hitters with a .481 average. 2-1 pitch. Swung on, missed. 2-2.
Treadway's going to be a good pickup for the ball club because he can come off the bench. He's used to doing that job, coming up in clutch situations late in the ball game.
That pitch is low for ball 3. With the acquisition of Treadway and the recent call up of Tom Foley, the Expos all of a sudden have a couple of seasoned veterans on the bench. You're looking at Brad Osmus, the San Diego catcher. 3 balls, 2 strikes. This is gloved by Hamilton. 1 away in the 3rd. Treadway out, and Will Cordero comes up. He flied out to Tony Gwynn his first time. Early in the game, so far the Expos have 1 hit. Moises Alou with a single to left. As you heard earlier, the Giants beat the Phillies 3-1, and In 10 innings, Houston beat Atlanta 2-1 today. Charlie Williams with the call. That's a strike to Cordero. Over the outside corner. 0-2. This is game 2 of a 9-game 10-day tour out here for the Expos. 3 in each of the California cities, plus a day off next Thursday in San Francisco, which will be welcomed by the Expos. They really haven't had a day off since the 1st of May. There was a day off scheduled, but the Expos spent that on an airplane flying from Montreal to Chicago to Houston.
Lovely day in the air. Especially out of Chicago, when the pilot informed everybody that you wouldn't be able to take the quickest route. Had to fly around a storm.
Which added, what, about an hour to the flight,
Yeah.
I think. 2-2 pitch. Low and away. So this is game 2 of the California tour. Expos winning here last night, in case you missed it, 7-1. Jeff Fassero and Andy Ashby in a terrific pitchers battle, tied up at 1 going to the 9th inning when the Expos blew it open. A play by Caminetti. Wow. 2 down.
Well, this is what the Padres have added, getting Caminetti from the Astros in that 12-player deal. One of the top defensive third basemen in the league, and now with Matt Williams out of there for a while, Caminetti will have to step up a pace here, and he might be the #1 third baseman defensively in this league now that Matt Williams is out.
2 away, Moises Alou, the batter. Alou homered last night, his 5th of the year. Singled in the 1st inning tonight, and now is batting .317. Two balls and no strikes.
Well, that's the pitch that Mo has talked about. He has chased that breaking ball in the dirt when he wasn't hitting well. Now he's starting to lay off of it. Woo! And can get a good rip at a fastball. Tell you, Hamilton has pretty good stuff. He's got a pretty good fastball.
2 balls and a strike. And there's a shot handled by Holbert, the shortstop. 3 up, 3 down for the Expos in the 3rd. So midway in the inning, no score in the ballgame. The Expos have some people out with injuries, to say the least. Rondell White with a hamstring injury. Sean Berry with a groin pull. Mike Lansing on the disabled list with a badly pulled hamstring. And Luis Aquino out of action right now, but available with a hip flexor injury. So we had a chance to talk to the busiest of the Expos lately, trainer Ron McLean.
Okay, the good news first, Sean Berry's about ready to come back with his left groin. He's probably about 90% now, and he'll be playing tomorrow. And also, Luis Aquino is able to play with his hip flexor. He's able to pitch now. He's improved greatly over the last 3 or 4 days. We're still working on Rondell White. We anticipate him able to play with his left hamstring strain on approximately Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. And the other guy is, of course, Mike Lansing. He's improving daily. This is day 4, and we're going to have him start jogging on day 5 or 6. And he's right on schedule.
Well, Ron McLean and his assistant Mike Kozak have really been busy. And of course, that man has had to fill the gaps one way or another.
Thought I heard the theme from MASH playing underneath that clip from Ronnie McLean.
Jody Reed, first ball hitting, pops one up the shallow center, and Jeff Treadway wants this. 1 down, and Pedro has retired 7 in a row to start the game. He'll face the rookie shortstop Ray Holbert. Holbert, who hit 300 at Las Vegas last year. batting 182 right now.
He's been in and out of the lineup. Of course, the Padres would like to play Andujar Cedeno day in and day out. But Cedeno struggled here last night, struck out 3 times, and tonight Holbert's in there.
1 strike on Holbert. You know, last night you and I, before we left the ballpark, had to fill out our ballot for National League Player and Pitcher of the Month honors. And I just pulled out some of the paperwork that we used to kind of review the players and the pitchers for the month of May. Here's the 0-2 pitch and a ball. And
wasn't an
you
easy
and I
choice,
voted
yeah.
for Matt Williams.
Yeah, we did.
We thought this was a pretty good month, folks. A .405 batting average. Holbert down, the 3rd strikeout for Pedro, and Hamilton will bat. A .405 batting average, 12 home runs, 31 RBIs, and 45 hits for the month in 29 games.
That would get my vote, and it did.
And it did.
And the pitcher of the month, we
Expos had a couple of candidates.
Yeah, they did.
Worthy candidates. Jeff Fassero, who was 5-1, and Carlos Perez 4-0. But we voted for Heathcliff Slocum of the Phillies, who in 14 games logged 12 saves, 1-1, and posted a 1.76 ERA. Hamilton swinging and missing strike 2.
Under Heathcliff's stats, does it include the number of hits he gave up?
Yeah.
12 saves, he gave up 8 hits.
Right. Here's the 1-2, and Hamilton goes down on strikes, and on 9 pitches Pedro Martinez has taken care of the Padres in the bottom of the 3rd. We'll go to the 4th with no score, and here's Vic Rauter in Baseball Tonight.
Checking the National League scores, Giants win their 5th in 6. Look at that, Florida comes back for a win. They were trailing 4-0. Elsewhere, Cincinnati and Colorado has won. It's a final 7-6. The Mets up by 2.
Dave Van Horn along with Ken Singleton at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. No score. Expos and the Padres, and Darren Fletcher to lead off the 4th inning for the Expos. Joey Hamilton's pitch is fouled straight back.
Fletch is starting to swing the bat the way he did in spring training. Hit the ball well in the spring. Hit the ball well last year. Sometimes has streaks though where he's real hot or real cold.
And that is fouled straight back. 1-2. Fletcher stepping out for a moment. And a foul ball out of play. Still 1-2 on Fletcher. You can see most of the fans in a sweatshirt or a light sweater or light jacket. Another cool evening, not cold, just cool in San Diego. Off the end of the bat, a roller for the 3rd baseman Caminiti. Look where he wound up making that play. They had given that left field line to Fletcher.
Well, not only a strong arm for Caminiti, plenty of range as he cuts in front of Holbert. 360 and an accurate throw.
1 down in the 4th. Tony Tarasco up. He's 0 for 1. Breaking ball in for a strike. Joey Hamilton getting the curve over.
The Padres have decided in this series that Tony Tarasco, if he's going to get his hits, it's going to be on a breaking ball. He struck out 3 times last night on a curve. That's the pitch right there. They got him to chase it all night long. And his first time up, he grounded to second on that very same pitch. He's got to make him bring that curveball up.
Yeah, he batted in the 1st inning with the bases loaded, and they did not throw him a fastball. A ball and 2 strikes to Tarasco. By the way, I want to mention that just in case Expos fans notice just a little raspiness to my partner's voice. It's because Ken's been singing along with Frank Sinatra and he's worn out his. No, actually, my partner is suffering with some allergies and it's affected your throat, but you're not in any pain. Tarasco hit by the pitch. You're not in any pain, so we can put everybody's mind at ease.
Yeah,
you're doing okay.
Rod McClain, yeah.
You're doing okay. Just not the 100% you'd like to be.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
But you're a gamer. You're not. You are not out of the lineup. All right, here's the pitch.
Well, Tony got a fastball finally, but not where he wanted it.
It caromed off the arm and then hit the mitt of the catcher. So we got the double sound of the ball hitting Tarasco, him yelling "oh," and then the ball hitting the mitt. Gresolanic 0 for 1. Grounded out to shortstop in the second. Hitting a .263 right now. A foul ball off to the right side. Two strikes on Mark Gresolanic. Shane Andrews will follow. Here's a ground ball out near second. Holbert to Reed and over to first. They get the double play. A quick inning here because of the double play and only 12 pitches thrown by Joey Hamilton. We're scoreless midway in the 4th in San Diego. We're back at Jack Murphy Stadium and the Expos and the Padres with no score in San Diego with the top of the order coming up here in the 4th inning. Expos fans everywhere will recognize that man in the green jacket. Now turning his back on us. You rascal, you. Buck Rogers, who managed the Expos from 1985 to 1991. Partway into the 91 season. Buck now scouting the West Coast as a major league scout for the Philadelphia Phillies. Teaming up with I believe Jimmy Stewart and Ray Shore. And then Buck Rogers, and those three cover the country for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yep, feeding information back to Lee Thomas and Jim Fregosi.
He will meet with them when they come to San Diego. Actually, Buck is getting a chance to see the Expos, but he's really scouting the Padres because the Phillies are out here on the West Coast. They'll be coming down here to play San Diego, and Buck is doing the advance work. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bip Roberts, who flied to center his first time up.
Well, the Expos might be ahead of the game with Bip tonight. They've already gotten him out once.
Here is the 1-2 pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Roberts. Currently batting .352. Two-two pitch. And Roberts lines the ball right to Jody Reed, the second baseman. 2 down. Fans right after the ball game will select the player of the game for the Expos on behalf of Obis Form, the back care experts. The Obis Form backrest support is made for people that sit. It's lightweight, portable, and offers comfort and relief from back pain. Available at Shoppers Drug Mart, Eaton's, and Canadian Tire. This ball lifted in the air, and Treadway settles under this. And Finley is out on a pop-up to Treadway. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Special Olympics on behalf of the Expos player of the game and Obis Form.
Dave, so far tonight, Pedro has made things look pretty easy. Looks like he's got his mechanics under control, getting the ball where he wants to. Even moved Bip Roberts out before that line drive to second base for the first out of the inning.
He has retired 11 in a row and has 4 strikeouts along the way. Gwynn lifts this ball high into the air, center field. Frazier back, turns, and gets under it. And with 9 pitches, Pedro has moved through the 4th inning. Nothing here for San Diego. It's on to the 5th at the Murph.
MLB at Home is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
No score at the end of 4 innings here. The Expos and the Padres. After Cliff Floyd went out with his injury, the Expos general manager Kevin Malone acquired Henry Rodriguez from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, somewhere along the line, while with the Dodgers, Rodriguez injured his leg, aggravated it with the Expos. He is out of action now. We asked trainer Ron McLean to assess the injury.
Henry Rodriguez suffered a hairline fracture of his right tibia, and it was done in Thursday's game. We had him x-rayed yesterday, and we found the injury, and he was placed in a walking boot type splint, and he's able to take it off and do therapy and so forth. But he's going to be in this for approximately 4 to 6 weeks, and he's going to be out for a while.
Ron McLean on Henry Rodriguez. Here is a shot hit by Shane Andrews. Diving stop by Ken Caminetti, who's putting on a show tonight at third base. Boy, he may be really displeased with that 0 for 14 at the plate, and he's taking it out on some hitters defensively.
Well, that's what you'll get from a veteran. He does not let his hitting distract from what he does in the field. We've seen that from Tim Wallach years ago. Every once in a while, younger players will carry what they do at bat into the field with them, and all of a sudden you have somebody who's not playing defense as well as not hitting.
Pedro Martinez got the sacrifice bunt down his first time up. Here he grounds a ball right at second baseman Reed. And 2 quick outs here with 2 pitches. And Lou Frazier will come to the plate.
Center fielder, Lou Frazier.
Joining us in the television booth, general manager. Right there he is, ready to say hello to all of his
Kevin,
friends.
if you look to your right there you
and fans. The general manager of the Expos, Kevin Malone. Kevin, it has to be terribly disturbing to see the injury to Cliff Floyd, go out and make a deal and acquire a Henry Rodriguez, and now Rodriguez goes down, and now where do you turn?
Well, it's something that Felipe and I discussed this afternoon. It's discouraging because, as you mentioned, we go out and we get the player we think can fill the void that was created when Cliff got hurt. But we think that from within, we'll look from within again. I mean, we were in a situation about 2 or 3 weeks ago when we thought we came up with the answer in Henry Rodriguez, and of course he was the answer. Now we're back in the same boat. So we'll give Shane the opportunity, Tom Foley, Sean Berry, and then I'll continue to look outside the organization again.
Foul ball off to the right side, off the bat of Lou Frazier. In the meanwhile, we understand that Curtis Pride is en route and will be available to the club tomorrow. So he will fill out, be in effect the 25th man on the roster. But as Felipe has said, and you have just underscored, it'll be Shane Andrews, and on occasion Tom Foley and Sean Berry to do the job at first base.
Well, I'll look around again, but it's awful hard to fill the same void over and over. Look at this guy. You're
Caminetti again. Didn't get the call. Frazier stopped, and he's out at first base because he didn't run. He thought Caminetti caught the ball on the fly. The third base umpire, Rich Rieker, indicated that Caminetti did not, and he gets a standing ovation. What a play again by the third baseman. No score midway in the 5th.
The new house is amazing.
Except there's this
rat problem. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
Ken Caminetti is going to lead off the 5th inning for the San Diego Padres. He has put on a tremendous show in the field. Look at this play on Lou Frazier as Frazier hit a one-hopper to Caminetti. And now he gets a hand as he steps in here. Struck out his first time up. Is hitless in his last 14 trips. And takes a pitch from Pedro for ball 1. Pedro has been perfect through 4 innings. No score. Pedro's thrown 45 pitches. And here's the 1-0 to Caminetti. And fouled out of play. We have already talked about Ken Griffey Jr., of course, Dave Justice on the DL, Jose Rijo, Deion Sanders, Matt Williams today, Dean Palmer today, Cliff Floyd, Henry Rodriguez. On and on goes the list. What is happening, Kevin?
Well, Dave, I think it's I think you're seeing ramifications of the strike. You got a prolonged off season. Players had more time in the off season. We had a shortened spring training, and then we have less off days. So what you're seeing is that players are being taxed or pushed to the physical limits. And when you push yourself as much as we're pushing these players after all the off time, then the shortened spring training, and now the limited off days, I think these guys are getting tired. And when you get tired, you're going to see injuries.
A fastball by Caminetti. Pedro continues to be able to come up with the big pitch.
First baseman.
And usually it has been the fastball here so far early in the game.
The second time he has blown one by Caminetti, just about the same spot, about letter high. So if he's sticking with the scouting report, you don't want to change it.
No.
That's strikeout number 5 for Pedro, and he threw that pitch at 94 miles an hour.
Pedro today, I talked with Pedro before the game a little bit about the fine he received yesterday, which I'm very unhappy about. I think it was totally unwarranted.
This is because of the warning in last Monday's game?
No, they told me it goes back to Houston when he hit Luis Gonzalez. And they fined he and Kyle both $500 for what took place. And I think in Pedro's situation, it was unwarranted. And then I talked to him before the game today. He is very focused, and he said he was going to go out there and pitch his game, and he looks like he's doing what he set out to do.
Treadway with the play. 2 quick outs here in the 5th inning. And Brad Osmus will come up for San Diego. He's 0 for 1, having grounded out his first time. Boy, I should say he is focused. Perfect now for 4 2/3 innings.
Well, Kevin, I got to agree with you because Kyle was the one who was thrown out of that game. So why should their fine be equal at $500 apiece?
I don't think Pedro should be fined whatsoever.
Not at all.
They talk about, you know, the problem is I think he's being singled out. He's got a reputation now that he pitches inside. He's only hit 2 hitters all year. He hit the first batter he faced in Pittsburgh, Jacob Brumfield. Then he hit Luis Gonzalez. He went like 120 something hitters without, you know, from the first hitter hits batsman to the second hit. And because he's got a reputation of pitching inside, now we're going to be looking for him to hit people. I think it's unwarranted, and I don't really appreciate what's going on right now.
And when he's only 23 years old, you know it's got to affect him. He's not, you know, like a seasoned veteran, 31, to just put this aside and say, well, I'm going to go out here and pitch. They can find me all they want. This is a young man trying to come into his own as a major league star.
This is his approach. He pitches inside. It's part of his effectiveness. Last year he got on a roll because he controls the inner half of the plate. Hitters don't like that. And of course, when you pitch on the inner half of the plate, you're going to hit some people. But I believe it's unintentional, and you know, I believe they're singling him out right now, and I just don't appreciate it.
On 11 pitches, he has gotten through the 5th inning. That's strikeout number 6. Pedro Martinez is perfect through 5 in San Diego, and we are scoreless.
In the American League tonight, Dave Martinez 2-out grand slam for the White Sox as they win. Gary Gaetti with a 2-out solo home run to give KC the win. And Minnesota 4-0 over Texas.
No score in Expos and the Padres. And last night we had a pitcher's battle, Ashby and Facero. Tonight it is Martinez and Hamilton. The June draft. And it resulted in the Expos selecting as their number 1 pick Mike Barrett, the shortstop from Pace Academy down in Atlanta, Georgia, an 18-year-old. Jeff Treadway leading off this inning.
Those stats reminded me of Kenny Singleton's old stats: 635, 24 bags.
Yeah, that might have been Little League, Kev.
Tell us about the shortstop. Tell us about the philosophy of drafting a shortstop #1 after Boca Chia being #1 last year.
Well, as you know, the Expos, we're focused on quality athletes. We focus on productive players. This is a young man that we feel will end up at third base. He's 6'2", 185. The one tool that he doesn't possess as far as normally for a shortstop is foot speed. He's a step short, but we think he's got Golden Glove potential. He's got very soft hands, very quick and agile feet, but it's not straight ahead running speed. We think he's going to be a middle of the lineup offensive run producer.
Treadway hits a high pop-up to right center. Finley and Gwynn, and Finley, the center fielder, takes charge and makes the call. One away in the 6th inning.
But what we liked about him, Dave, was the fact that he's a right-handed hitter, but he uses the whole field. He's got a very clean, fluid, easy stroke. He can drive the ball the opposite way, and he's got baseball instincts. He loves to play. He's a hard worker. So he possessed everything we were looking for. We think we've got a potential all-star at third base in the future. You know, when you pick 20A sometimes too, we were very fortunate to get a player like this there with just waiting around to see what ended up.
So going into the draft, you felt he would more than likely not be available to you? Were you surprised that he was still there?
Somewhat surprised. He was overall 12th on our depth chart. We ranked the players, say 1 to 300, and he was 12th. So we thought we had a fairly good shot at getting him, but you just never know.
A drive to right field. Gwynn is waiting. 2 away here in the 6th inning with no score. And Moises Alou will come to the plate. Kevin, I know that it is only announced that in the first round those draft picks are made known after the first round. Drafts are made known, but not what round they were drafted in. What else can you tell us about the draft? Let's start with Canadian talent. We do know that there were, I don't know what, 8 or 10 Canadian players that have been recommended for the draft, either by the Scouting Bureau or by your own people. And did the Expos indeed draft any Canadian talent?
Yes, we were fortunate. We felt like we've got a quality young Canadian player by the name of Pierre-Luc Laforest. He's a left-handed hitting shortstop right now, but we believe he's going to be a third baseman. He reminds me of Greg Colburn as far as he's a strong, solid, well-built young man, but got very good hands, quick hands, and strength. Got a solid average arm. We think he's going to be a third baseman with a left-handed power bat. So we were excited to get him in the 16th round. Alex Augustino, our scout that lives in the Montreal area, highly recommended him. We worked him out at the stadium, and we think he's got a bright future.
Was that the young man you were hitting ground balls to?
Yes.
You know, I liked him too. Pretty good size.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's built like Greg Colburn. He's strong and kind of squared, and he's a young man. He's only, I think, 17 years of age.
Here's Holbert into the hole with a long throw. He pulls the first baseman Pedagini off the bag. Moises Alou is aboard for the 2nd time tonight.
In fact, he is. Pierre-Luc he just turned 17 in January, as I'm looking here at my notes.
Well, Holbert makes a good play going to the hole, but there's 2 parts to any play in the infield, and one part is the throw, and the throw is offline, and Moises is safe.
They gave the shortstop
a throwing error is charged to Holbert on that play. So 2 down in the 6th inning. Alou is on. Moises Alou has the only hit so far in this game, a single back in the 1st inning. Reaches here on the error and brings Darren Fletcher to the plate. He has walked and grounded out to 3rd on a terrific play by Caminetti.
You know, Dave, if I might mention it, I was talking to Kevin about the young man I saw at the stadium. If I can remind the fans here that I got to the ballpark early, sitting up in the booth, and there's our general manager on the field. His jacket's off, his tie is still on, hitting ground balls to a young man at 3rd. Well, I didn't know who the young man was. Now I find out who he was hitting the ground balls to.
Well, that day the visiting club needed the field. I think it was the Cincinnati Reds that particular day. They were hitting early, so he couldn't hit on the field, so we went in the cages underneath, and I was real impressed with his swing. It's loose, strength to the hands, there's bat speed, and you could just see he's got a chance to have some power, and be a quality player.
Was there a theme to the draft? Did you draft athletes?
Yes.
How about
well, I'll tell you a little bit about our
position players and pitching. Yeah.
Our second round pick was Henry Mateo. He's a middle infielder out of Puerto Rico, switch hitter.
In left field, Roberts is there. He's got it. We'll come back to the hold that thought, Kevin, and we'll come back. Fletcher lines out to left, and Alou is stranded. Midway in the 6th inning, 0-0 in San Diego. We're talking with Expos general manager Kevin Malone, and we're talking about the June draft, which I guess concluded or should be wrapping up today.
Concluded today.
How many pitchers, Kevin, did you have? First of all, how many players did the Expos draft?
Well, when I left yesterday, we were into the 40s. I think we were around 45 rounds or so, and we were only going to go a few more today. But our first 10 picks, we took 8 high school players, 1 junior college player, and 1 college player. So we focused again on the high school player, and we feel very fortunate. We got some quality athletes, some very exciting players, and we think we did a very good job again this year.
Pedro Martinez has done a very good job. He's been perfect through 5 as we enter the 6th inning. In the bottom third of the Padre order, Reed, Holbert, and Hamilton. Reed popped to short his first time, and here lines to third. Right after the ball game, we'll select the player of the game for the Padres on behalf of AST. Canada's fastest growing computer company stays on top of the game with a winning lineup of valued notebooks and desktop computers, including the AST Advantage. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Special Olympics on behalf of that player and AST. Now Ray Holbert, who struck out his first time up.
Kevin, you mentioned the club went after the high school players. Some organizations feel that they should go after the college player. Now the thought is, I believe that when a club goes after younger players, they feel they'll have them longer and be able to develop them into the type of player they want.
Well, right now there's varying philosophies. I think if you're picking up early in the draft, and maybe you can get a college player that could help you within a year or 2 years, then I think maybe you go that route. But we feel like we've got quality young players now. We want to keep bringing them into the system. Ground ball there to Treadway, 4-3 for the second out of the inning. But we think that right now, because of the youth of our major league club, that we need to continue to put young players into the system to keep them coming in at the entry level.
That was a tougher play than it looked.
Yes.
He came up with a bit of a short hop and made the throw.
Set the stage for this at-bat, Joey Hamilton. Pedro is perfect through 5 2/3. Joey Hamilton is 0 for 16 this year and 0 for 54 for his career.
He's perfect too.
He has already, it's an unofficial baseball record, but he's already passed Don Carmen's start of career 0 for 48. Hamilton is 0 for 54.
But the seasonal record is Bob Buell with the Milwaukee Braves, went 0 for 70.
Yeah, 1962. Started the season with the Braves, wound up, I guess the Braves didn't like his bat, so they traded him to the Cubs because he wound up with the Cubs, and between the two, he went 0 for 70.
He's a pretty good pitcher, though.
Yes, he was. Hamilton goes down on strikes, and fans, don't go away. Saturday Night Fever hits Jack Murphy Stadium. Pedro is perfect through 6. No score in the game. Dave Van Horn along with Ken Singleton, and joining us in the television booth, Expos Vice President and General Manager Kevin Malone. No score here. Let's check out the starters. There's Pedro and there's Joey Hamilton, Ken.
Well, the key number with Pedro, I believe, is the 65 pitches through 6 innings, and that's a pretty good number right there. He should have plenty left in the tank. Hamilton has gone a little further, 89 pitches, and Pedro is getting out of innings with about 10 pitches, 10 or 11 pitches. That's pretty good.
Tony Tarasco 0 for 1 and hit by a pitch his last time up. Ball 1 to Tarasco, who's hitting .289. Ball and a strike. There probably is absolutely nothing being said to Pedro down in the dugout right now, but somewhere down in that dugout there are a few players getting together saying, let's get a run somehow. Let's get one.
Got to get a leadoff man on and then let Felipe try and work some magic here to pick up one run. Tarasco has the count 2-1. It should be 3-0. The pitch he swung at was a ball.
That might have been two.
Well, it started out looking like a strike. That was a pretty good pitch. Joey Hamilton, Kevin, you were on the last time he pitched. You like this guy.
Yes, he can pitch. He really pitched well against us in Montreal.
Chopper to the right side. Edegini gets it to Hamilton for the out. One down in the 7th inning. Well, Kevin, as a member of the Expos organization and as the general manager, this is what, the 3rd draft for you now?
This is the 4th.
This is your 4th draft?
Yes.
So your first draft was 91.
92,
92, 93, 94. So this is 95. This would be, yeah, that does work out to 4, doesn't it?
I had 2, and Eddie Creech, our scouting director, who's doing a great job for the organization. He's had 2 now.
Do you remember, I'm sure you do, do you remember scouting Joey Hamilton?
Yes, I do. Georgia Southern College.
He was about the #1 collegiate pitching prospect in that draft of 91, wasn't he?
Yes, I remember. It's funny how you remember certain things. I saw him down at FIU, Florida International University down in Miami. And you go down to the bullpen, you want to watch how a guy warms up, what he does in preparation to get ready to pitch a game. That's a beautiful pitch right there.
91 miles an hour.
Peas at the knees, they used to say.
Was that your first look at him?
Yes. Well, I'd seen him as an underclassman. The thing about Joey was that you knew he was going to go in the first few picks. You just weren't sure exactly where. And he had a good breaking ball. He had the above average fastball, but he had a feel for pitching. And I think that's the thing you look for in pitchers is can they use their stuff?
Pitch is fouled at the plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mark Gresselanic, who has grounded out twice, once into a double play.
Oh, we just saw Hamilton work both sides of the plate on the last 2 pitches. In and out, up and down, move a hitter off the plate. That's what you call pitching, not just throwing the ball.
Two-2 pitch, and that is the 100th pitch of the game for Joey Hamilton, and he has struck out Mark Gresselanic. Shane Andrews has walked and lined out to 3rd. Now remember, while Pedro's working on a perfect game, Hamilton has allowed only 1 hit. Kevin, you're known to all of us as a Kentucky Colonel, but you were born right here in this city.
Yes, I was. My father was in the Navy here. I didn't live here very long. I was here about a month. They took me back to the good old Kentucky roots.
Reed with another good play, and on 12 pitches, Hamilton gets by inning number 7. No score as we head to the bottom half of the frame. Fans are up for the stretch here at Jack Murphy Stadium, and no score in this game. It was on April 13th last year that Pedro Martinez made a bid for a perfect game. You'll remember that it was interrupted when Reggie Sanders charged the mound after being hit by a pitch. Pedro had retired the first 22 batters, had a perfect game through 7 1/3 before a 2-strike pitch hit Sanders. And that started a brawl. Here's the line on Pedro tonight.
Well, not much happening as far as hits and runs and walks, but look at that strikeout. 7 strikeouts, 65 pitches in 6 innings. And I just liked what I saw Pedro warming up there. He was practicing throwing from the stretch. He hadn't thrown from the stretch the whole game. So not to wish himself any bad luck, but just in case somebody does get on, he wants to be ready and have his mechanics focused.
This is a big inning right here for him.
Yeah, these are when Dennis threw that perfect game against the Dodgers. When he had to deal with Brett Butler leading off, I thought that would be the toughest hitter of the game for him. And he got Butler pretty easily. Then I began to think, well, maybe he's got a chance here.
Ball 1 to Bip Roberts, the top of the San Diego batting order. Pedro perfect through 6. He's retired Roberts on a fly ball to center field and a line drive to second base. Roberts hitting .349, fouls 1 off. 1-1. Pitching coach Joe Kerrigan was making an interesting point about Bip Roberts, and one of the reasons why the Expos have had trouble pitching to him. Because he is short and compact and has a compact swing, the strike zone that Roberts presents is small. Here's a ball hit into the air to left center, and Frazier is under it. 1 away in the 8th, and Steve Finley will come to the plate. Make it the 7th inning.
That's wishful thinking, Dave.
And well, what I did, I wrote down that, well, I just messed it up is what I did. Steve Finley, the batter, has struck out and popped up. Don't you hate when players make excuses? So I'm not going to make any excuse.
Well, we all make mistakes.
Well, the way Pedro's going tonight, it doesn't look like he's going to make many. One thing you watch for, not only how the guys, when Pedro gets them out, but how they make outs. That was a lazy fly ball off the bat of Bip Roberts, so he was late on that fastball. And sometimes an indication of how a pitcher is throwing, or how the outs are made, even when he's getting people out. Line drives are an indication that he might be losing it.
Joe Kerrigan's point on Roberts, I think, was well taken, that when pitchers work really well to hitters, not only do they move the ball in and out, but they move the ball up and down. And there's not just a great deal of leeway in pitching to Roberts.
Yeah.
It's tough moving the ball for any pitcher to move the ball up and down on Roberts. This is popped up behind home plate, and Fletcher settles under this. 2 down in the 7th inning, and Tony Gwynn will be the batter, a 5-time batting champion and the #1 lifetime hitter in the National League among the active players. 333.
Even though Tony has flied out twice tonight, he's hit the ball fairly well both times, and this might be the toughest test right here for Pedro. Good pitch.
It is a good one. Like you had mentioned, Kenny, when you see a pitcher still throwing downhill, I get concerned about pitchers when they start pitching up in the strike zone late in the game, but he's still working down in the zone.
A play by Andrews, and Pedro on 9 pitches has retired the Padres in the 7th. He'll carry his perfect game bid into inning number 8. No score at Jack Murphy Stadium. No score through 7. We go to the 8th inning. Let's take a look at that final out of the bottom of the 7th inning, Ken.
Well, here's where the score of the game dictated where Shane Andrews is playing at first base. Now remember, there's no score in the game, so he has to guard the line against an extra base hit. The Expos are up by a couple of runs. That might have been a 2-base hit for Tony Gwynn. There's Tommy Harper schooling another young player.
Number 45, Pedro Martinez.
Pedro Martinez got down a sacrifice bunt in the 2nd. He grounded out in the 5th. One strike to Pedro. Oh, and 2.
The way Pedro is going right now, you almost wish that he would make it out,
Yes,
get back to the bench and sit down. But the club needs some runs.
Hamilton, working on a 1-hitter, has thrown 105 pitches. Pedro goes down on strikes. It's the second strikeout for Hamilton. He got Gresselanek in the last inning. See, people will watch Pedro, but people won't say anything to Pedro. Foul back by Frazier, who is 0 for 3. The Expos had an opportunity in the first inning when Frazier reached base on an error by Pettigini, the first baseman. With 2 outs in the inning, Alou singled and Fletcher walked, and the bases were full, but Tarasco grounded out. Andrews got a 1-out walk in the second. Nothing happened there. Tarasco was hit by a pitch with 1 out in the fourth. A double play ball followed. Alou reached with 2 outs in the sixth on an error by the shortstop. That's been it offensively for the Expos. So here on the other side of the field, Hamilton is working on a gem. A ball and 2 strikes to Frazier. Hamilton is big and strong, 6'4", 220. So at 110 pitches, Ken, you figure he is still out there for a while.
Well, you don't want to go much past 120. I think nowadays that those high pitch counts that we talked about in the past are a thing of the past. Randy Johnson, the only pitcher last year to throw 150 pitches in a game, and just as few as 3 years ago there were about 10 pitchers who did that. They just don't do that much anymore.
Ball lined softly out into right center, and a base hit for Frazier. The second hit allowed by Joey Hamilton. Now the ball got away from the Padres when they threw it back in, but Frazier's at first base with 1 out. Now, one of the aspects of the Expos offense, and we've talked about this the last few nights, that they have not been effective in using, is the running game. What do you think Felipe might try to do to take advantage of Lou Frazier being aboard and no score in this game in the 8th inning?
Well, Dave, it's a situation where the running game might have to be pressed into action, put some pressure on the Padres defensively, and if anybody can do it, it's Lou Frazier. And he's the type of base stealer who does not get caught very often.
This ball is poked into center field. Finley is there and has it for out number 2. Treadway is retired and is 0 for 4 on the night. Frazier is still at first, and Will Cordero will be the batter. This is where Cordero has really had some shining moments throughout 1993 and sporadically 94, I should say, and sporadically here in 1995. You know that Felipe would just love to see Frazier in scoring position for Cordero.
Cordero really started to come into his own back at the tail end of 93. Had some big hits against the Phillies as the Expos were chasing down the Phillies that year. And I think it really was a boon to his confidence, because last year started off a little slow, but it was this time of year where he really got hot. He had 12 of his 16 home runs in the month of June and July.
In the late innings of tight ball games, the Expos couldn't wait to get Will Cordero to the plate with somebody in scoring position. A ball and no strikes to Cordero. Hard ground ball at the shortstop, Holbert. The inning is over here in the 8th. We'll go to the San Diego half of the inning. Expos nothing, Padres nothing, and Pedro heads out to the hill again.
MLB at Home is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Ken Caminetti to lead it off for the San Diego Padres. Pedro Martinez perfect through 7. Caminetti has struck out twice and is 0 for 15. Swings on the first pitch and hits it foul and out of play to the left. Ken, here's Pedro, just 23 years old, second year as a starting pitcher in the league, but he has been through this kind of a game.
I think that might help him here in the later innings. He certainly remembers the game against Cincinnati and how close he came to baseball immortality. But tonight, he's almost in the same situation. That game went 7 1/3, you said?
When
he hit Reggie Sanders, yeah.
Yep.
So he's into the 8th inning here. Very similar situation.
Pedro carried a no-hit bid through 8 and lost his no-hit bid in the 9th inning of that game last April 13th. 0-2 pitch.
Ooh.
Ball 1. 1-2. This too is where the defensive players feel a little bit of pressure too, because there's so much riding on every play.
That's true.
I mean, players are ready to dive, to go in any direction, knock balls down, run through walls, do whatever they have to do to get outs.
I remember after the Dennis pitched his perfect game against the Dodgers, Spike Owen was playing shortstop that day, and Spike said he was very happy that the last out was a fly ball, because infielders are under a lot of pressure, not only to catch the ball but to throw it to first.
Fastball inside. 3-2. He struck him out with a high fastball again, and Caminiti got mad and broke the bat over his leg.
He's a tough competitor. He's so intense. I really like him as a player. He's a complete player. He's a competitor.
Well, I think he knows he chased ball 4, and it would have helped his club out.
Well, that's the 3rd time Pedro's got him on that pitch, kind of up and in. 3 strikeouts for Caminiti tonight, all in the same place.
You're going to have to bring something extra to the dance to get that pitch tonight.
First ball hitting. Pettigini pops it up. Bressolonic. Now Pedro has gone further than he's ever gone before under these circumstances. 7 2/3 innings of perfect baseball.
I don't know about you two, but I can sense the crowd kind of swinging here. They're kind of swinging towards Pedro Martinez. They feel something special is happening.
Osmus has grounded out and struck out. Ball 1.
But I think at Dodger Stadium by this time the fans had really swung to Dennis Martinez, because the Expos were ahead in the game. And it looked the way Dennis was pitching. It was just a matter of whether you're going to get the perfect game or not.
This is popped up and back into a camera area behind first base. Now all Fletch or Andrews had to do was continue on back there, open the gate, go in the area, up the stairs, through the opening in the railings, and catch the ball. One and one the count on Osmus. Felipe in on every pitch, every situation in the game, moving a fielder.
That was Tarasco in right field. He moved him off the line just a little bit more.
By the way, Pedro's now thrown 85 pitches. Tarasco, the right fielder, just moved by the manager. 1-2, 2 outs in the 8th. In the air, right field. Tarasco's there. Pedro Martinez is perfect through 8 innings in San Diego. There is no score in this game.
For over 75 years, people have saved money with Geico. Sorry.
From the top.
For over 75 years.
Keep it together.
What are you doing there? Stop making me
Geico,
laugh.
saving people money for over 75 years.
Well, Pedro Martinez sitting quietly, now standing, taking a walk in the dugout. And nobody that we have been able to see has said a word to Pedro.
Might be the loneliest man in San Diego right now.
See, they're not even looking at it.
Left fielder, Moises Alou.
So you look at the rest of the dugout, it's as though Pedro isn't even there. Top of the ninth, Moises Alou leading off. Fouled out of play. Alou 2 for 4 last night, including a home run and a big hit in the 6-run ninth inning. So far tonight, 1 out of 3, a hit back in the first. Moises Alou and Lou Frazier have the only 2 hits in this game.
Well, last night we saw the Expos score in the ninth inning to make Jeff Pissarro a winner. Jeff had been taken out of the ball game, and the Expos were batting in the top of the ninth. So a similar situation for Pedro here. Although he's going to pitch the bottom of the ninth for sure. And Hamilton pitching a similar type of game that he did in Montreal, although once the Expos got him out of the game, the bullpen gave it up. Here's a key pitch right here, 3-1. Hamilton does not want to walk Alou to lead off the inning, because he's putting the potential winning run aboard. So he wants to throw a strike here. And if Mo gets something that he can handle, this is where every hitter likes to be. 3-1. He's a little late, which tells you that Hamilton still has pretty much on his fastball. But still, I think it favors Moises Alou here, 3-2. Hamilton still has to throw him a pretty good pitch to hit.
Through the hole on the left side. The leadoff hitters aboard here in the ninth inning. Alou with his second hit of the night. The Expos had a 1-out single from Frazier in the last inning. He was stranded at first base. This is the first time since the first inning that the leadoff batter has reached base against Joey Hamilton. Darren Fletcher 0 for 2 with a walk. And a high fly ball left center. Roberts is there. Roberts getting rid of that ball quickly, aware of the speed of Moises Alou at first base. Got himself in a good position to make a strong throw to make sure Alou stayed at first base.
Mo actually had gone back to first to tag up, but it's up to the center fielder Finley to warn Roberts that the man at first is tagging up and get the ball back in quickly.
Carrasco 0 for 2 and hit by a pitch. Double play depth on the San Diego infield. Two balls, no strikes to Tony Carrasco.
Looks like Brian Williams warming up in the Padres bullpen.
So you can think what Bruce Bochy is thinking about, that his pitcher might be getting up near that pitch count where they think about taking him out of the game, even if he is pitching a shutout.
2 balls and a strike.
We've seen some good pitching in this series from both sides last night, and I didn't think it'd be tough to top that game last night from an Ashby and Pissarro standpoint, but these two have gone even better.
By the way, Moises Alou has 1 stolen base this year. He's been caught twice.
Right now, Mo's bothered by that tender hamstring. He's not quite at 100%. Of course, Joey Hamilton and the Padres don't know that.
Tarasco right now hitting .287. Sharp ground ball. Reed to Holbert. 1 over to first. 2. Tarasco hits into the inning-ending double play. After 8.5, no score in San Diego. Pedro Martinez working on a perfect game. Into the bottom of the 9th inning, he has been perfect through 8, has thrown 86 pitches, and he's been just tremendous, Ken.
Well, take a look at the closest play. Now, Jeff Treadway has a tougher play than you think. This is the 6th inning, and Ray Holbert's ground ball is 2nd. Kind of a short hop for Treadway. 7th inning, Tony Gwynn with a rocket down the first base line. Shane Andrews pulled over that way because the score is tied. We had no score, and Shane with the final out of that inning. Then Ken Caminiti in the 8th inning, a 3-2 pitch here, and he blows away on what might have been ball 4. It was a high fastball, but Caminiti swings through it and is out of there.
So now here is Pedro in the 9th inning with the bottom 3rd of the San Diego batting order. Jody Reed, then Ray Holbert, and then a pinch hitter. Reed hitting .182. Ball 1. Reed has popped up and lined out. A line drive to third base in the 6th inning. In the air to right, and Tarasco is under this. 1 away in the 9th inning. Now, when you think in terms of pitches thrown, Pedro's in good shape.
Well, he's just coming up on the 90 mark, so you figure, you know, he's thrown many more than that in the game, at least 20 more pitches than that, so you figure at least 1 more inning. And if you look down towards the Expos bullpen, they might be thinking along the same way. Felipe and Joe Kerrigan, there's nothing going on in the Expos bullpen right now.
Scott Livingstone is going to pinch hit for the rookie Holbert. Livingstone, a left-handed batter. Swings and drives the ball to right. Tarasco makes the catch at the wall. What a catch by Tony Tarasco to save Pedro Martinez's bid for a perfect game.
But Pedro looking out towards right field and maybe trying to get the attention of Tarasco. Tarasco might be shaken up after making this play. Now remember, you didn't get to see Tarasco do too much of this because he didn't play much with the Atlanta Braves, but we see what type of player he is. Stretched out to the max, up against the wall, and might have hurt that left shoulder. Look at Pedro Martinez looking out towards right field, watching his right fielder go after this fly ball to right that might have gone out of the park. And a tremendous catch by Tarasco in right field.
2 down. Eddie Williams to pinch hit. And he hits 1 foul out of play to the right. He's batting at .268. He's hitting for the pitcher Hamilton. Oh and 1. Over for a strike. 0 and 2. Pedro Martinez for 8 2/3. Two outs, 0-2 pitch. Struck him out. Pedro Martinez is perfect through 9 innings. And there's no score in the game. Martinez with his 9th strikeout. Perfect baseball through 9. No score in San Diego. You're watching Expos Baseball on TSN. Well, you're looking at Pedro Martinez, who has pitched perfect baseball through 9 innings. He's thrown 92 pitches. Here's the catch.
Well, it's the 2nd out of the bottom half of the 9th inning. Tarasco stretched out to the max, pulls it in, and a tremendous catch to save Pedro Martinez. maybe from losing the ball game. You can see how he greets him in the dugout. Tarasco and Martinez.
The Expos have the bottom third of the order coming up here, and Brian Williams is in to pitch for San Diego. Joey Hamilton, through 9 shutout innings, allowed just 3 singles to the Expos. A base hit in the first inning by Moises Alou, then nothing until the 8th when Lou Frazier singled, and Alou who singled in the 9th. So Hamilton out of the game now. No score in the 10th. Gresolanic 0 for 3.
Well, for Joey Hamilton, his second straight good start against the Expos, and he came away with a no decision in his last start, and the Expos rallied to win that game. Brian Williams in here, another hard thrower. This time coming out of the Padres bullpen. He had been a starter from time to time for Houston.
Ball and a strike to Gresolanic. 1-2. Of course, the last National League perfect game was Dennis Martinez's game. El Perfecto, July 28, 1991, just up Interstate 5 at Dodger Stadium. Gresolanic down on strikes for the second time, first time facing Williams. 1 down in the 10th inning. And Shane Andrews up. General Manager Kevin Malone, we have not allowed him to leave his seat. I don't think he wanted to leave, actually.
No, this is...
Kevin, have you ever seen one? A perfect game?
No, I have not.
Pitch is low and a ball. Well, you're in good company. Most people have not. Those that have had that opportunity are the privileged few. In the dirt. 2-0.
You know, Brian Williams was out at University of South Carolina. He was a quality athlete that also played the outfield, could hit, and he's always had a good arm. I remember seeing him at the University of South Florida one night, and for 5 innings he just dominated. He showed 3+ pitches, the fastball, curveball, and kind of a split, and he's got it. He's got the pitches.
2-1 the count on Shane Andrews, who's currently hitting .232. He's walked, lined out, and grounded out, and pops this foul out of play. Last year on July 28th, what is it about that date, the 28th of July, Kenny Rogers pitched his for Texas against California. Two inside.
Well, Dave, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that when Dennis Martinez was pitching his perfect game against the Dodgers, it was quite evident that the Expos were going to win that game. I think they won it 4-0. But the Padres still have a shot here, and that's why the Padre fans haven't turned to Pedro Martinez's favor.
Hit number 4 for the Expos, a base hit to left by Shane Andrews. And Pedro Martinez will come to the plate. See how the fans react.
Standing on the right side.
Well, not many fans here tonight, but certainly appreciative of what Pedro Martinez has done.
Yeah, just 9,707. Pops the bunt up. The runner, Andrews, gets back at first base. Two down. Andrews at first and Lou Frazier the batter.
Not a good bunt attempt by Pedro here as he pops it in the air. You can see Williams had plenty of time to get under it. Might have thought about letting the ball drop and the possibility of getting a double play.
Two down in the 10th inning. The Expos are playing their 5th extra inning game. They've won 1, they've lost 3. Ball 1 to Lou Frazier.
Last night, Facero threw 114 pitches in 8 innings. Pedro's gone 9 innings and has thrown 92 tonight. So you got to figure that the Expos would at least let Pedro get to that 114. Maybe as far as 120 in this game. And he's already thrown 92. But he's running out of time. They need to get him a run, or else all this good pitching, if the Expos can't score, is going to go by the wayside.
Yeah.
It's a good thing in one advantage for Pedro. He's gotten back on track. We've seen that. He has struggled for the past month. Only has had 1 win in the past month. But tonight he's gotten it all together again.
I think what factors in also is that Pedro's next scheduled start would be Thursday, our off day. So he'll go on Friday. So maybe Felipe and Joe are thinking, well, he's going to have an extra day off. Maybe we'll let him extend a few more pitches.
You know, that applies to the whole pitching staff because this year there have been very few days off, as you have mentioned earlier, Kevin, and I think that affects all the pitchers in baseball.
Nobody up in the Expos bullpen. Here is Jeff Treadway, who last year led the league in pinch hitting. This kind of situation was his specialty with the Dodgers last year. A called strike on Treadway. Now with the injuries, forced into action just about every day now for the last few days, and Treadway tonight is 0 for 4. He's 1 for 8 in this series so far. Treadway lines a ball to right field. That's a base hit. Being waved is the runner Andrews. He'll score, and the Expos lead 1-0 in the top of the 10th inning on Jeff Treadway's hit to right.
It's hard not to get excited, guys. I know you've seen it before, but I think it sets the tone for a quality bottom of the 10th. This is going to be an exciting finish to this.
It certainly will be, as Treadway hits one off the end of the bat, breaks his bat, but gets enough of it to loop it in the right center field for the base hit. Tony Gwynn comes up with it, and Lou Frazier with his speed easily goes to third base. So the Expos can tack on some more runs here.
I'd like to get at least one more. Kenny, how about you?
Well, we've got Cordero up, and he's always been tough in the clutch. So we'll see what goes on here with Will Cordero.
Cordero 0 for 4, and runners at first and third with 2 outs. Ball 1.
I wouldn't bother me to see a wild pitch here either.
The only difference here in San Diego is the seats now that they have installed behind the home plate area. It makes it tougher to score from third, but maybe certainly a player like Frazier's speed can make it.
In center field, Finley's there, and he's got it. Cordero is out, so here we go. The Expos get a run, and now they lead 1-0 heading to the bottom of the 10th. Dave Van Horn along with Ken Singleton, and having joined us in the booth a few innings back, Expos Vice President and General Manager Kevin Malone. And Pedro Martinez, who is perfect through 9, will go after the top of the order, and here's a look at Pedro.
Well, Dave, I think you had a key phrase there when you said the top of the order. 3 of the toughest hitters in the league, Bip Roberts, Steve Finley, and Tony Gwynn, face Pedro here in the bottom half of the 10th inning.
Tony Tarasco with 1 out in the 9th saved the perfect game bid with this catch, robbing Scott Livingstone, pinch hitter.
See, ordinarily when you're trying to finish off a no-hitter or a perfect game, you're dealing with the bottom of the order because that's who the hitters are that come up in the bottom half of the 9th inning. But see, this has gone into the 10th. Now Pedro has to deal with the top half of the order. And I mentioned Bip Roberts has always been tough on the Expos, although tonight he's 0 for 3, just like everybody else.
Into the bottom of the 10th inning, and we'd like to welcome viewers on ESPN from coast to coast as Pedro Martinez makes his bid for a perfect game. We're in the 10th inning, 1-0 Expos. Roberts, Finley, and Gwynn, the top of the Padre order. Roberts, who has been an Expos killer, 0 for 3 tonight, but batting .346 on the year. A ball and a strike to Roberts. Roberts lines a ball right field. It's going to drop in. An extra base hit for Bip Roberts. He has a double, and the bid for the perfect game comes to an end in the 10th inning. 95 pitches thrown by Pedro Martinez. And Mel Rojas is up in the Expos bullpen.
You got to feel that when any pitcher's got a no-hitter or a perfect game going for that matter tonight with Pedro, that the first hitter of every inning is the toughest, because he's sat for a while. The pitcher has sat for a while, now has to get back in the groove. And Bip Roberts is as tough as anybody in this league when he's leading off an inning, because he has a small strike zone and you have to throw strikes before he's going to swing the bat.
Pedro watching that ball drop in, and then moves to back up at second base. He was as focused there on the game action as he was when Tarasco made the saving catch in the last inning. Virtually no reaction whatsoever. And here comes Mel Rojas. Here's a look at Roberts, and I mentioned an Expos killer. 345 for his career against the Expos. So Pedro leaves after 95 pitches and 9 perfect innings. Well, you look at Pedro Martinez, and he has the lead. He can win this game. And it is up to Mel Rojas to try to ensure that victory for Pedro and the Expos. You can't help but think back when you look at what Pedro has done tonight. Ken, does this give you an even greater appreciation for what Harvey Haddix did in 1959 when he pitched 12 innings of perfect ball?
Perfect ball against a tough ball club like the Milwaukee Braves. Joe Adcock, Billy Bruton in those days, Hank Aaron, of course, Eddie Matthews. They had some quality hitters on that ball club, and for somebody to pitch 12 innings of perfect baseball against a team like that shows you the what Harvey Haddix had to go through way back when. Pedro Martinez tonight had some tough hitters to deal with. Bip Roberts, #1. We showed you what he does against the Expos. Tony Gwynn's going to hit this inning. And I think Felipe did the right thing by taking Pedro out, getting Mel in there. You know, he was going to go as far as he could with him as long as he kept getting people out. Then Mel has to come on, and Felipe's thinking is, we've got to run, we've got to win this game. It's a day game tomorrow. We'll come back and go for the sweep.
1-0 Expos in the 10th inning. Mel Rojas into his 16th game, a 1-1 record, 10 saves, and 21 strikeouts in 20 1/3 innings of work. And Steve Finley coming up. The tying run at second, nobody out. Pedro Martinez. Roberts, who doubled.
Steve Finley, an excellent bunter. He's also hit in 10 of his last 12 ball games. See Grzelanic at third, hit on the grass. Shane Andrews even with the bag at first. If Finley doesn't swing and try and pull the ball and move Bip Roberts over to third, he is likely to drop one down and get him over to third base for Tony Gwynn.
Greg Nettles with the signs. You know, we mentioned the Martinez game, of course. 2 days before the Dennis Martinez perfect game, July 26, 1991, the Expos started Mark Gardner against the Dodgers. A strike called on Finley. Gardner lost a 9-inning no-hitter when the 10th inning leadoff batter Lenny Harris singled over the mound on the infield to break up a no-hitter in the 10th inning for Expos right-hander Mark Gardner, now with the Florida Marlins. One ball, 2 strikes on Steve Finley, who is 0 for 2 tonight.
Saw that Finley was very quick on that pitch inside. He's trying to pull the ball. But the quality pitch from Mel Rojas is that split finger. That goes down and away from left-handed hitters. It's a very tough pitch to pull if Mel throws a good one.
Fouled off. It's still 1-2.
Not only does Mel have a good downward break with his splitter, it's also one of the hardest in the league. So it looks more and more like that fastball until you go to swing at it. Then the bottom falls out of it.
Roberts, the runner at second base. A foul ball straight back. One ball and 2 strikes to Steve Finley.
I think back to the fans back in Montreal who've stayed up late the last couple of nights to watch their ball club on TSN. Certainly well entertained with the pitching. Not only by the Expos, but by the Padres as well.
One and 2 to Finley. And he hits it foul down the right field line. Well, you mentioned just a moment ago, Ken, he's trying to turn on a ball.
Well, Finley's got a quick bat. He's a good all-around ball player. And the Padres picked up a lot when they got Finley, Caminetti, Anderhart, Cedeno. Not only offensive type players that can help you with the bat, but players who can play their position.
Again, a 1-2 pitch. Off the chest of Fletcher. Over to third, Roberts. And the tying run is now 90 feet from home on a wild pitch by Mel Rojas.
When you talk to Mel and you talk about his split finger, you ask him out of 5, how many split fingers would be quality? He said 4 good ones. This might have been that one bad one that he was talking about. In the dirt, off the chest protector of Fletcher. Getting back to the screen.
The infield comes in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Andrews holds the runner, gets the out at first base. 1 down. Tony Gwynn, the batter.
Right fielder, number 19, Tony Gwynn.
Pedro Martinez with Carlos Perez seated alongside. Here's Tony Gwynn, whose brother Chris Gwynn was the final out in Dennis Martinez's perfect game. Gwynn hitting .389 with runners in scoring position. Strike 1. Tonight he's flied out to left, to center, and grounded out to first.
See, there's almost no such a thing as Tony Gwynn being behind on the count because he hits so well with 2 strikes. He's tough to strike out.
The fastball missed inside.
So he's going to put the ball in play.
A ball and a strike. Gwynn hits it on the ground. Contact play is on. Play at the plate. Roberts is out. Treadway fielded the ground ball, got it to Fletcher, who had plenty of time to set and block the plate. Roberts had no way of getting there, and he's out. And Gwynn is the runner on the fielder's choice.
Well, Mel makes a quality pitch. Fastball inside, jams Tony Gwynn. Treadway fields it cleanly and makes a perfect throw to the plate. Plenty of time for Fletcher to set up. And Bip Roberts with the slide almost didn't make it to the plate. Once again, to look at Tony's swing, and there's the throw right to the plate, and Bip is a goner.
Now Ken Caminetti, who has struck out 3 times tonight. Two down. The Expos leading 1-0. Ball 1. Caminetti now in an 0-for-16 slump, and Pedro Martinez watching his game to win on a night in San Diego that he will never forget.
Will any of us, for that matter?
I won't.
Yep.
It'll have a sweeter taste if there's a W behind it.
Yeah, it certainly will.
Gwynn at first is the tying run. Strike 1 to Caminetti.
Here's that nasty splitter, and what that sets up is the high fastball that Caminetti's been missing all night long. And Mel has the type of speed to get one up there about 91, 92. But I think in a way you want to stay away from that because he might catch one of those.
You know, too, one of the keys to this game might have been the 9th inning of last night's game. Mel Rojas had started to warm up and would have come in had it been a low-run game. But Sean Barry hit a pinch hit grand slam, blew the game open in the 9th to beat the Padres 7-1. And as soon as that ball left the park, Mel Rojas sat down. Felipe saved him, used Tim Scott to close out the game so that he would have a fresh Mel Rojas for tonight. The 2-1 pitch to Caminetti. 2-2.
Well, this is where Mel has graduated from last year being one of the top setup men in baseball. Led the major leagues in holds last year with 19. So I believe he and Heathcliff Slocum of the Philadelphia Phillies, who had 18, he was next, have graduated to the next level. They've gone up to be top closers in this league.
2-2 the count on Caminetti. 2 outs. In the air, the third baseman Mark Gresolonic under it. That's the ball game. Pedro Martinez and the Expos have beaten the Padres 1-0. Martinez and Rojas combine on a 1-hit shutout. Pedro was perfect through 9. And it's a 1-0 10-inning win for the Expos over the Padres.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pedro Martinez, the winning pitcher of this evening.
Pedro perfect through 9, and Bip Roberts led off the 10th inning with the base hit, the double to right field. Rojas entered the game, and what a job Rojas did.
Tomorrow afternoon at 1:05.
Let's take a look now in the dugout on the final out on the pop-up.
Please drive carefully on your way home. We'll see you back here tomorrow afternoon.
Cool customer.
There's the catch.
Carlos was more excited than Pedro.
And the rest of the team coming off to greet Pedro Martinez, who stands in front of the dugout.
Jeff Treadway comes through. Thanks for having me, guys. I can leave the seat now, or should I sleep here all night?
You can leave the good luck seat now. And who knows? We don't know what's in store for us tomorrow. We may need you back here.
If I knew we win 6 or 7 in a row, if I stayed here all night, I'd sleep right here in this seat.
Thanks, Kevin.
General Manager Kevin Malone visiting with us. 1-0 Expos on a 1-hitter combined. Pedro Martinez and Mel Rojas. Earlier on the pregame show, we talked about some of the things that Pedro has been through in recent starts. He had been erratic. He had not been finding that special groove that all pitchers like to find, where they're locked into all of their pitches, throwing with good control. Pedro had been very erratic and was having trouble finding the win column for a variety of reasons. And he went out as focused as we've ever seen him pitch in a game, with great concentration, hitter after hitter, at bat after at bat, and was perfect through 9 innings.